Hi, it's me, KJ, the filmmaker slash artist, and welcome to this live stream. So today on this live stream, well, it's going to be kawaii theme or somewhere because it might involve teenagers in kawaii style fashion clothing or something like that, or little girls in fashion style clothing, or maybe even adult female in fashion style clothing in a way. Well, just in case you haven't noticed, well, pretty much there's this one crocheting bag, and it's obviously available right about now on eBay.com if you're into it, and it actually does fit like your 11-inch iPad or your iPad mini, had to be smaller than 11-inch, your cell phones, and of course your wallet or something like that. Even though I kind of filmed it and it's obviously on eBay right about now just to show you the demonstration and all that stuff. But, eh, but right about now I totally forgot to bring that orange bag downstairs. So we're just gonna keep on moving on. So we're just gonna start with this image here, and this one's called Teen with a Parasol. So pretty much Teen with a Parasol was eventually completed on January 31st, 2022, and the size is 16 by 20, so the bidding cost is $3, and you can buy it now for $100, if anything, because the bid is now. So one thing to note about the bid or anything else is that all these people are bidding on t-shirts. It's like 7 people each just bidding on a t-shirt or something like that. I'm not sure, but I only had like one bid for each of these 7 t-shirts or something like that. And it would have been nice if you just place your bid right about now before it goes away. And that's clearly how it is with eBay or something, or with the KJH Art.Studios, even though I'm just trying to get things out there and probably sell these artworks away before it goes away, if anything. So once again, this here is of any teen with a parasol and a kawaii style dress carrying that large umbrella, which is called a parasol, by the way. And the background has like this waterfall, and it's kind of like garden theme almost. That is, and it was completed on January the 31st, 2022. And the size is 16 by 20, and the bidding cost is $3, and the buy now is $100. So even if you were thinking about buying it, go ahead and place your bid right about now. The link to the shop is on the description box or in the bio, if anything, if you really want to purchase yourself this girl with a parasol. I meant teenager with a parasol, either way. Either way. And I'm sure it's probably up to you if you ever want to purchase it on eBay or something like that. And if anything, yeah, sorry about my grammar. It's kind of slow right now, even though I have autism, so please note that. And if anything, I'm sure it's probably worth a while, even though it's about this young teenager, even though it's about this teenager and that fancy clothing I officially created, for all that matter. And I'm sorry the comments are obviously off. Well, it's clearly for safety reasons. Some of you might place a scam or something like that, even though it could lead you to buying fake followers or fake buyers or fake viewers or something like that. So just keep it real or something like that. Well, at least the link is real as usual. So I'll let you look it up in the description box down below. So I'm just gonna put it on mute right about now, because right about now I think my parents are having a conversation right about now, and you don't want to overhear the conversation. So I'm gonna mute it and then replace the image, and then I'm gonna start talking right about now. Well, this here is an image called Teen in a Pink and White Broom or something like that. So this here is indeed a teenager in this kawaii style fashion or clothing or something like that, or dress or something like that. And you kind of see she's all wearing white and pink around and all. And you kind of see she's obviously in a pink and white room, since I even draw like characters in kawaii style fashion or something like that. So pretty much one thing to know, this image is framed, but I might have to frame, but there are some other images that hasn't been framed, or maybe the frame didn't fit, but I might fix the frame somehow. But I probably had to frame these images before I even bother to mail it in or something like that, if anything, because what I'm going to do is that I'm mail it to the address, and that's probably what I'm going to do. So pretty much this clean vanity image of a teenager in a pink and white room, along with her unopened umbrella or parasol, that is. And the date was completed on November the 7th, 2020. And the size is 16 by 20, if anything. So the cost on eBay is like a $3 bid, along with a $100 buy now if you want to end up bidding right about now, if anything. So pretty much it's obviously up to you or something like that. You can just place your higher numbers if you want to on this image or something like that. I'm sorry I don't have eBay Live, not just yet or not about now. I'm not sure what the future even told me, because I even heard that eBay Live is clearly on beta mode, but I guess I wouldn't even get in or something like that. But right about now, I'm obviously using this or something like that in order to sell the artwork and putting it live or putting it out there. And if anything, I'm sure this image is clean, very worthwhile, and I'm sure it'll probably be good for those who are clean finding this anime style outfit or anime style characters I created, along with this kawaii style fashion I officially created. And if anything, it's obviously hand painted or anything. And if anything, if anything, once again, you kind of see this is clearly teen in a pink and white room, all painted in acrylic, but with a black Sharpie marker around, and sometimes even that metallic Sharpie marker around somehow. Either way, and if anything, you can find this shop in the description box, or you can just find it in the bio link somewhere on YouTube. And I might have to mute it again, and I probably have to replace it with another image. So this here is indeed an image which I'm going to call it Teen in a Fancy Ball Dress number 2 or something like that. Well, I did make others which involves number 1 and of course number 3 was something like that. I only made 3 of each, but each of them were obviously in different color. So this here is indeed an image of a teenage girl wearing this blue fancy dress or something like that at a ball or something, and everything else is kind of indeed golden for that matter. And you kind of see that she's all wearing blue for some reason only, and blue for some reason only, and it's kind of like anime style for all it matter with the kawaii style dress I officially let this character in indeed wear, even though I draw things kawaii and some artwork that is. And you kind of see that the image kind of looks in a kawaii style fashion of some sort, and it's obviously a teenage girl wearing a fancy ball dress. And the date was obviously completed on September 20th, 2021, and the size is 16 by 20 with the cost of $30 a bid and $100 a buy now button or anything else. And if anything, even if you think about purchasing this image, maybe you can just go on ebay.com. The links are in the description, nor in the bio, if anything. Once again, this here is Teen in a Fancy Ball Dress number 2, and it was completed on September 20th, 2021, and the size is 16 by 20, and the cost of it is $3 a bid with a $100 buy now button, if anything. And I'm sure it might be good for those who might be into anime or might be into kawaii style fashion or anything, and I'm sure probably this is clearly invented for you for all that matter. So this here is clearly inventing an image of, let's see, this one's called Teen in Her Playroom or something like that. So you kind of see this is clearly inventing an image of a teenage girl in a playroom along with her doll and of course a stuffed toy animal and of course a dollhouse and all that stuff. And you kind of see there's pictures with image within images. Like for example, there's an image of a doll and then there's probably an image of a cupcake in the image or something like that. So this here is inventing teen in a in her playroom and even though it's just a teenage girl in her kawaii style dress once again, and it probably might be good for those who are clearly inventing the kawaii style fashion or like something that cute or something like that or into anime either way. And the image was complete on June the 21st, 2022. The size is 16 by 20. And the cost of the bid is $3 and the buy now button is $100. So go ahead and place your bid. And it's on eBay.com and the link is in the description. And of course, in the bio if you want to go straight to the shop on eBay. So once again, we have Teen in Her Playroom, and the complete date is June the 21st, 2022, and the size is 16 by 20, and the bidding cost is $3 along with a $100 buy now kind of button. So this here is an image called Teen in a Fancy Ball Dress. This is the number one. Well, I know that, but I already did make a number, well, we already seen the number two part. And there's also a number three one, which I might show later on or something like that, because I just created myself a list or something like that. I'm sorry the list is kind of messed up or something like that. It's not in perfect order, because nothing in life is perfect anyway. But I did eventually create, like, a list of things so I can keep myself tracked. Here's the list here on how to keep myself tracked so I can, know what I'm obviously going to be doing. So I'm just going to keep on moving forward with this. So this here is an image of Teen in a fancy ball dress. So the date was obviously completed on September 15, 2021. And the size is 16 by 20 with the bidding cost of $3 and a buy now button for $100 if you want to buy now to see in the auctions. And even if you were looking for this image, you probably might find, or looking to find forward to buying this image. Well, the image is clearly on eBay.com. And the link to my eBay shop is either in the description or in the bio section, either way. So once again, this here is the image called A Teen in a Fancy Ball Dress. And it was complete day September 15th, 2021. And the size is 16 by 20 with the bidding cost of $3 and the buy now buttons of $100. Well, this here is an image called Teen on a Swing or something like that, and this is clean faded, this kawaii style teenager. Even though I painted her hair color just being pink to make it look kind of cute and all, or maybe cool and all, or something like that. And you kind of see the setting must have took place in a garden with a swing, with a tree and a swing thing, and you kind of see there's flowers all over, especially around this teenager who's wearing bow ties and all that stuff, even though I was trying to make this character look kind of a lot cuter than I expected to happen or something like that. And you kind of see that this is clean fitting image of Teen on the Swing. And the date was complete on May the 3rd, 2021. And the size is 16 by 20. And the cost is $3 a bid and $100 worth of buy now button. Once again, and you can actually find this image on eBay and eBay shop in the description nor in the link to the bios, so you can just search it on eBay in the description or in the bio in my YouTube channel thing. So once again, this is Teen on the Swing. Complete date is May the 3rd, 2021. And the size is 16 by 20. And the bidding cost is $3 along with the buy now button if you want to end the bidding right about now. Unless you had a lot of money, well, it wouldn't make sense. So I'm just selling all these artwork I actually had. I couldn't just fill up my entire house with all the artwork that needs to be sold away or something like that, because I do make like more artwork, or maybe I might crochet more blanket or make more t-shirts and all. You know how I am, even though I do make like more or something like that, but not just more, but I just do this for the sake of passion or something like that, but not for the sake of money or something like that, because I have no dollar bill signs on my eyes anyway. But you probably know how it is, even though I felt like I couldn't possibly keep all this artwork, but I had to sell it away anyhow. But the rest I probably had to explain in some other videos that is like KJ Family Fun related, so, but it might be sad. Well, this here is clearly inventing an image called Elegant Teenager, or Elegant Teen, I meant to say. And it was obviously complete on August 27, 2020, August 7th to 27, 2020. The size is 16 by 20, and the bidding cost is $3, along with the buy now button for $100. So one thing to note is that this image is kind of based on the digital printed image I officially create, whether I create the physical image first nor the digital image first, either way. I'm not sure how this happened, but you probably know how it is. But even if you were looking for the digital image, well, you probably might find the digital image on my coffee shop right about now, and you probably find the description box down below, along with the bio section down below, if anything. So once again, this here is an image called Elegant Teen. Date was completed on August the 27th, 2020. The size is 16 by 20, and the bidding cost is $3, along with the buy now $100, if anything. So this here is Chloe finding an image called Teen in a Fancy Ball Dress number 3. So this is Chloe finding an image of a teenage girl wearing her fancy ball dress. As we all know, because it's obviously invented, because we all know this is Chloe invented based on those series of Teen in a Fancy Ball Dress or something like that. Because I already showed you number 2 at first, and then number 1 at second, and now I'm showing you the final Teen in a Final Ball Dress one. This one's number 3, and pretty much for this third piece of the Teen in a Fancy Ball Dress, you kind of see that everything else is similar to that other one I did, and it's all gold and all that stuff, and it was obviously complete on September the 21st, 2021, and the size is 16 by 20, and the cost of the bid is $3 on with a $100 buy now button, if anything. Once again, the image is called Tina Fancy Ball Dress number 3, and the date was completed on September the 21st, 2021. The size is 16 by 20, and the cost is $3, and the buy now is $100. And you can find it on eBay, either in the description, nor in the bio section somewhere on my YouTube channel. So this here is Chloe finding an image called Lady in a Fancy Dress or something like that. So this is Chloe. So this character is not a teenager but an adult female wearing this large fancy dress, something like that, or maybe the character's rich. Either way, since I was clearly inspired by this Kawaii style clothing or something like that, and it's obviously this character just carrying a really big umbrella that looks kind of fancy or something like that, or a parasol that looks kind of fancy and all that stuff. So you kind of see that she was obviously wandering around this garden themed background or something like that, looking like she was rich or something like that. That's all I could say about it. I'm not good at pronouncing things correctly. You know how it is. So pretty much the artwork is obviously called Lady in a Fancy Dress, and it was completed on May the 14th, 2021, and the size is 24 by 18, and the bidding cost is $4 on the $150 buy now button, if anything, even though this artwork really does look kind of good in each of these artwork, if anything. So once again, and you can find it on eBay, if anything, or you can find this on my eBay shop somewhere in the description, nor in the bio link. And once again, it's called Lady in a Fancy Dress, and it was completed on May the 4th, 2021, and the size is 24 by 18, along with the bidding cost being $4, and the buy now button being $150. So this is another large piece I officially did, and this one's called Elegantina the Window. So this is clearly finding an example of another Kawaii style fashion, but this character is clearly finding at the window, and you kind of see behind it is clearly finding garden theme along with all these trees and all that stuff, and you kind of see that this is clearly finding here an image of this one elegant teenager who's clearly finding at the window, standing next to the curtains and the windows and all that stuff, just to make it look like kawaii themed or fancy themed or even rich themed or something like that. So once again, this here is the artwork title is called Elegantina the Window, and the complete date was on March the 18th, 2023, and the size is 24 by 18 with a bidding cost of $4 along with the buy now button for $150. if anything. And I'm sure probably this image is clearly very worth a while, and it might be good for those who might be infinity into kawaii themed, anime themed, or anywhere else in between. I'm sure this image is clearly infinity for you. And you can find them on my eBay shop in my description box, nor in my description, nor in the description do live, nor in the bio somewhere else. Either way. So once again, the art channel is called Elegant Teen at the window. Date complete being on March the 18th. Wait, 19th, I'm just saying. March 19th, 2023. And the size is 24 by 18. The bidding cost is $4. And the buy now is $150. Okay, this here is clearly vetting an image of a teenage girl and her doll or something like that, and you kind of see that this teenager is wearing and her doll wearing a matching size, wearing these matching clothing for a lot of matter, as if this doll is trying to be like her, or she's trying to be as if the doll is trying to compare with a teen, or this teen trying to compare with the doll. Either way, even though it might look like a cute image of a look-alike, perhaps, even though it's kind of the same, but they're obviously different for all that matter. And one thing to note is that this image was clearly made by watercolor marker. So you kind of see that this image is clearly watercolor marker for all that matter. Even though even though this was clearly in a form of experimentation that I was trying to do with watercolor marker or something like that. So pretty much the image is likely vanity frame. It was all done by watercolor marker as well as watercolor paint or watercolor pencil. So this is clearly another media that is good for watercolor marker or something like that. So pretty much I probably had to sell this image on eBay right about now. So the image is called The Teen or Doll, and date completed was on July the 18th, 2021. And the size is 12 by 18 with the bidding cost of $2 and buy now $75. And you can find it on eBay in the description, either in the description nor in the bio section. So once again, the image is called Teen or Doll. The date was completed on July the 18th, 2021. The size is 12 by 18. The bidding cost is $2, and the buy now button is $75. And I had to move on to the next one. So this here is clearly an image called The Girl with a Flower Basket. So this is clearly an image of a girl character who's carrying like flowery basket or something like that. This one is clearly all dry media, so it's obviously done by markers and of course by colored pencils all at once for some reason only. And you kind of see that I did use neon Sharpie markers because the image is clearly fluorescent under black light if you look at the image on my eBay account. But pretty much I'm probably not going to give you the black light through packaging, but you might have to purchase the black light yourself either at Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart, either way, just to find black light so the image can look so fluorescent or something like that, but I'm not gonna do the black light thing anyhow. But even if we want to see the image is obviously available online on eBay.com. So the artwork is called "The Girl with the Flower Basket," and it was completed on, was it March or November? On March of 2021, March of 2020, and the size is 12 by 18. So the bidding cost is $2, along with a $75 buy now, if anything. So once again, and you can find it in the eBay, on my eBay shop, in the description, nor in the bio section, either way. So once again, the image is called "The Girl with the Flower Basket." The date completed was on March the 21st, 2020, and the size is 12 by 18. The bidding cost is $2, along with the $75 buy now. So this here is an image called "Girl Carrying Her Doll." So this is clearly an image of a girl carrying her doll. So one thing to note is that even though this is all through mixed media, like I just did it with, like I would do with, like I would do by obviously painting with acrylic paint, and then I would just trace it, and then I just draw the outlines with a Sharpie marker, and then I would add neon Sharpie markers. So the image is kind of very fluorescent under a black light, but instead of seeing all these brighter stars and all that stuff, you're just going to see all these scribbling lines instead through the image, and you can actually find it on eBay.com, and the link to it is either in the description nor in the bio section. So pretty much the artwork was called "Girl Carrying Her Doll," and the date was completed on February the 17th, 2021, and the size is 12 by 12, with the bidding cost being $3, and the buy now button being $85. So this here is an image of a girl just feeding birds, clearly in that kawaii style fashion, or maybe it's barely kawaii style, so it's kind of fancy looking. For all that matter, even though she was wearing bow ties around her dresses and all that stuff, and you kind of see that she was also just this rich fancy girl just feeding birds to a bunch of just feeding the bird, just feeding the birds or something like that. Even though you look at the details and all that stuff. So right about now, you kind of see that this is clearly invented with one girl in a fancy clothing, and you kind of see she was obviously like feeding the birds over here, whatever she was feeding. It could have been bird feed or anything, and I'm sure if anything, it might makes you want to think about maybe you want to buy this artwork of this girl just feeding these three tiny birds or something like that. So pretty much the artwork is called "Feeding the Birds," and the date was completed on July the 14th, 2020, and the size is 16 by 12, and the cost is $3, along with this 95 buy now button, if anything, and you can find it on eBay in the link You can find the link of my eBay shop in the description, nor in the bio section either way. So once again, the image is called Feeding the Birds. The day was completed on July the 14th, 2020, and the size is 16 by 12. The bidding cost is $3, along with the 95 buy now kind of button. So this here is an image called Lady on the Hill. So this is clearly a watercolor painting image that I officially invented, created, even though you're going to see some of this part is kind of transparent or something like that, even though I try to work with watercolor for all I matter. So this here is invented an image of a lady on the hill or something like that, even though this lady is clearly wearing this kawaii style fashion. So it's an adult female wearing a kawaii style fashion, as well as just a teenager or a little kid wearing, or a kid or a little kid wearing it. And you kind of see she's wearing her, carrying off her blue parasol, and everything else is obviously all in blue instead of being all pink or any other colors that any female characters are obviously wearing, if anything. And if anything, I'm sure maybe this picture is for you if you really think that maybe you want to own the picture and hang it on the wall just to make it look fancy and all that stuff. So once again, so the title of it is called Lady on the Hill, and the date was completed on July the 7th, 2021. And the size is 14 by 18. It's usually the frame size being 14 by 18, but the other size of the actual image, I'm clearly not sure. So it's kind of smaller than the 14 by 18 one. And the cost of it is $2, with the buy now being $8. So once again, Lady on the Hill, date complete on July the 7th, 2021, and the size is 14 by 18, and the bidding cost is $2, along with the buy now button being $80, and you can find that on eBay in the description, nor in the bio link, either way. Well, this here is clearly an untitled piece, so I'm guessing it's obviously a portrait of a teenager or something like that, either way. So this is clearly finding need an image or a portrait that I officially found create. This is clear all in graphite pencils, well, except for the highlighted part, which happens to be, which are either made out of whiteout ink or maybe acrylic marker, or maybe even acrylic paint or some of that. I'm not sure how I did this anyhow, but that clearly depends. But you kind of see that I use that black Sharpie markers for outlines, which is one, and I wanted using graphite pencils to create to color it all in for some reason only. And part of it sure it seems like it looks like an experimentation that I was obviously doing trying to create the highlights and all that stuff, and of course using darker shades of graphite pencil to create the shadowy highlight and all that stuff. So pretty much the image is called Untitled. So I didn't even title anything, so I decided to call it Untitled. But the date was completed on August the 20th, 2020, and the size is 12 by 18, along with a $2 bidding cost and a $75 buy now. And you can find this image in the description nor in the bio section either way, but that's clearly up to you. So this here is Chloe finding an image called Teen Looking at the Mirror, something like that. So pretty much with this image, it's obviously about this teen in a Kawaii style fashion dress looking at the mirror or something like that. So pretty much how I create the mirror or something like that. Well, as a matter of fact, the mirror was obviously created by this chrome marker officially created, but you kind of see that it doesn't look that reflective anyhow, but I try my best to make it look reflective if I could, even though you kind of see it's obviously about this teenager looking at this non-reflective mirror I officially created, even though I created with a chrome marker, but it didn't work that much. But part of it seems like it's just another experimentation I was creating with this, but even if I've done better, I would put like a chrome paper or mirror paper or something like that over it, which I did in all the other images or something like that. I just created three of them, with just one being teen looking at the mirror, the other one's girl looking at the mirror, and then there's a little girl looking at the mirror or something like that because their size are different. So pretty much this here is an image called Teen Looking at the Mirror, and it was completed on September the 25th, 2021, and the size is 11 by 14. The bidding cost is $3, along with a $90 buy now, if anything. So even if you were into this image, maybe this image is clean vanity. It's clean vanity for you, for that matter, but it's obviously a girl looking at the image, and you can find that in my art shop and in the description, nor in the bio link somewhere. Well, this one is called Girl Looking at the Mirror, or something like that. So you kind of see that this time, instead of using these chrome markers, I end up using these chrome papers instead, or mirror papers instead, just to make it look like it's mirror or some reflective or something like that. But for some reason, it only like reflect like our reflections over here, just to make it look like a cool piece of artwork. So you kind of see that this is clearly made by a mirror paper or chrome paper or something like that. And you can only see like your reflections in it. I know it looks kind of distorted. I know the reflection looks kind of distorted for all that matter, even though it is about this girl looking into the mirror, but you'll never be able to. But it only just shows like your own reflection through that reflective object or something like that. Even though I glossed it with Mod Podge or something like that, but it made it look kind of distorted or something like that. Even though I had to place Mod Podge on top after I completed this acrylic paint or something like that. Even though the image is clearly invented, it's clearly about this taller girl in a fancy clothing, just looking at herself in the mirror or something like that. Even though she's really like looking at probably her reflective but distorted version of us in the mirror. So pretty much for this image on hand, the image is called Girl Looking at the Mirror. And the date was completed on January the 14th, 2022, and the size is 11 by 14, along with the bidding cost being $3, and of course the buy now button being like $90 or something like that. And you can find this image either in the description nor in the bio to the eBay account. And I'm sure, and even if you were into that painting, maybe that painting might be good for you, or it might be good for any little kid who might want something fancy or something like that, if anything. So this one's called Little Girl Looking at the Mirror. So pretty much for this artwork, once again, I end up using like mirror paper or chrome paper once again, the way I did it with Girl Looking at the Mirror. So this is Little Girl Looking at the Mirror. So she's always looking at this big mirror over here, and you kind of see she's looking at the reflection, supposedly her, but instead it wound up becoming your reflection over here. I'm sorry the reflection was kind of distorted. That's because I just covered up with Mod Podge gloss or something like that, just to make it look shiny and neat and all that stuff. Most people might say that Mod Podge might ruin everything, but most people say it's probably best to use resin or something like that. Maybe I should try using resin next time if I really want to protect the painting or something like that, and it would make better sense, if anything. So this here is a funny image of a little girl looking at the mirror, and the date was completed on May the 7th, 2022, and the size is 11 by 14. And the bidding cost is $3, along with the buy now $90. And you can find this either in the description nor in the bio link somewhere. This is last but not least three teens in a fancy dress or something like that. So this is clearly like the Power of the Great Three kind of thing. Even though for some starters, I'm sure you probably might know what this clearly invented reference, but for some reason only it's obviously just teenage girls and clearly inventing a fancy clothing or something like that. And you kind of see that with these three teenagers, you kind of see that these are just three teenagers in this fancy clothing, because you kind of see one's wearing pink, the other's wearing green, the other's wearing blue for all that matter. And you kind of see that this whole entire backdrop happens somewhere in a garden or something like that. The background was obviously in the garden, and it's obviously just three pose or something like that. And everything else in this artwork seems kind of kawaii style for all that matter. But it's not as fluorescent on a black light it is, but it's usually that pink outline I did. And part of it seems like I was just working on some kind of experimentation, like I was trying to create the white highlights along with a darker, a darker, a darker shadowy underneath what is over it or something like that. I already described it. Oh yeah, and pretty much that highlighting thing and the shadow underneath is was cooling vanilla and was clearly all in acrylic marker or something like that. So I tried to experiment with acrylic marker to use that or something like, even though the rest is just acrylic and Sharpie marker, and for some I use acrylic marker to create the shadows and of course the highlights and all that stuff. But you probably know how it is with these images or something like that. So pretty much the image is called Three Teens in a Fancy Dress, and it was completed on January the 21st, 2022, and the size is 24 by 18, with the cost of the bid being $4 and a buy now button on $150. And you can find this either in the description nor in the bio shop somewhere on my eBay shop. So once again, this is called Three Teens in a Fancy Dress. Date completed on January the 21st, 2022, and the size is 24 by 18, and the bidding cost is $4, along with the $150 being a buy now kind of piece. If anything, I probably might be done right about now, and if anything, you can look it up on ebay.com or something like that. But pretty much for this artwork or something like that, I just feel like I promised to evolve or something like that over how I draw the artwork or something like that. Even though I was trying to create like shadows and highlights the way I did with these digital art or something like that. I guess you probably know how that is. Even though the physical art originally looked flat, it just went from being flat to just being trying to make its best to look unique and all that stuff. And that's how it is. Or maybe I was paying more attention to details sometimes. Sometimes we don't pay attention to details either way, but that's clearly how art is. That's clearly how what it is. It's pretty much all about evolving and all that stuff, and then making it into something even new for all that matter. Even though I was just trying to challenge myself to do something new every day, but that's clearly what art is clearly about, trying something new every day And even if you're finished with the artwork, you probably have to sell the artwork. It's all about selling what you just create or something like that. And the reasons for it was because we're trying not to get money or something like that. But it does take love and compassion to just make artworks like this or something like that. And how I become inspired, part of it seems like I was scrolling on to Pinterest or something like that, finding some kind of reference. And for some stars, I want to trying to find characters in fancy clothing because that's clearly how it is. And for some stars, sometimes they would just call it Kawaii style fashion or something like that. And I began to be into this, and this is what caused me to create characters in these fashionable clothing or something like that, whether they're just rich characters or another fantasy character. Either way, that clearly inspired me to create something like that. And even if you were into that, maybe it is for you or something like that, if anything. And you can find on eBay.com, and the link is in the description or in the bio section somewhere, if anything. And I'm sure it might be good enough for you, for every artist who is obviously out there. And another thing to note is that my t-shirt is clean vanilla is being bid right about now, and even if, but I had to wait till it gets higher or something like that, or I had to wait within a few days until it wears off, and then eventually I could just mail the t-shirt if the bidding wins or something like that. And I guess that's all I have in order to pronounce that. Even though I'm about to end this video right about now, and if anything, you can give this video a like if you like it. You can subscribe for more if you're new to this channel or something like that, because I probably might post like another shopping live online. But I might move on to other things, but it probably might involve flowers and roses instead of just characters in this fancy kawaii style clothing or something like that. And if anything, and if anything, and if anything, even though I might post like more of these artworks and all that stuff, and I might have to say thanks for watching, give the artist/filmmaker a high five, and if anything, thanks for watching.